Hey everyone, Mr. A here. So, in today's video, we are going to be creating our first game. We're going to be creating our version of the maze game. So, let's go ahead and get that set up. So, what I had done already is downloaded a maze from Google and saved it to my laptop. So when you are finding your own maze, go ahead and take the liberty of finding any maze you like from the internet, but make sure you save it to your computer so you can upload it to Scratch. So let's go ahead and upload our maze, right? So we're gonna go ahead and stage, upload backdrop, right? Go ahead where my image is at. Go ahead and hit open. And once my image is now open, what I am going to be doing now is see how my maze is not covering my entire stage. Let's go ahead and fix that. So we're going to do convert to vector. The reason I'm converting to vector is just because I'm able to resize the whole image without affecting it too much, right? So let's go ahead and just extend that all the way and extend this side all the way. So now we have our maze covering most of the screen, right? So let's go ahead and start programming our sprite to move around the maze, right? So first things first, if I don't want to have my sprite move once again, remember from the previous video, we learned about backpack. We've seen how we can create the program to make our sprite move, right? And we've done that before. So if you go ahead and look back to lesson 4 where we talk about the pen block and backpack, if I go ahead and click on my backpack, you can already see I already have the moving program already saved. When I go ahead and press that green flag, yes, my sprite moves, but for one, my sprite's too big to be in the maze, and for two, I'm going through all these walls. So let's go ahead and tighten up our game a little more. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the size of my sprite so it can fit in my maze game, right? So let's go ahead and change it to a size of 50, see how that looks. Still a little big, so let's go ahead and try 25, right? Awesome. So now what I'm going to be doing is I want to have my sprite start at the starting point anytime I start my program. So let's go ahead and make this our starting point. So anytime I press my green flag, my sprite will automatically go to those coordinates. So let's go ahead and make sure they match, and yes they do. So anytime I start my program, my sprite will automatically go to that position, right? So now that I have my sprite starting at a specific location, now I want to go ahead and draw my finish line, right? Because at the moment on our maze, there's no clear finish line, right? So let's go ahead and go to stage and go to backdrop. So what I'm going to be doing is just drawing out my finish line with just a paintbrush. So let's go ahead and click on the paintbrush and let's just draw out a very thin finish line. And let's go ahead and press on the green flag. And yes, my sprite fits in the maze, but nothing on the maze is still working. Even when I touch my finish line or even try to go through these walls, nothing's working for us, right? That's because we've yet to program to do anything, right? So let's go ahead and program on how we can have our sprite not go through these walls. So at the moment when I go ahead and press my left arrow, keep in mind that I'm changing X by -10, right? So when I go ahead and press the left arrow, I go through that wall, right? In order to fix that issue, I'm going to be introducing you all to a nested if-then statement, right? So what is a nested if-then statement? Just like it says in the name, a nested if statement is an if statement nested inside an if statement. Sounds a little confusing, so let me show you how that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and nest this if statement inside the if statement, right? So if key right arrow is pressed, then change X by 10. But if I'm touching one of the walls, right? So we're gonna go ahead and go to sensing, and we're gonna go ahead and select touching color. If I want to sense my wall, right? We're gonna go ahead and match the walls. So if you go ahead and click down here, this allows us to match any color we want from the stage. So we want to make sure we want to match the walls, right? So if I'm touching any wall when I'm pushing the right arrow, I want the opposite to happen. So if my right arrow is pressed, we're changing X by 10. But if I hit a wall, I want to negate that, so the opposite must happen. So we are going to go ahead and change X by -10, right? So let's go ahead and set that up. Change X by -10. -10, right? And I'm going to be doing the exact same thing when I go ahead and do it for the left arrow. Going to nest this if statement within that if statement. When I'm touching one of my walls, right? Go ahead and touch color. Click down here and go ahead and touch on any of the walls up here. Once I am touching that color, the opposite has to happen. So if my left arrow is pressed, then change X by -10. What is the opposite? Change X by +10, right? So let's go ahead and get that set up. Change X by 10. So now when I go ahead and move my sprite, just so I can showcase anytime I start my program, my sprite will always go to that coordinate of X 195 and Y 125. So let's go ahead and click our green flag. And yes, my sprite goes to that location. And now, voila, would you look at that? Now my sprite does not go through the walls, but except for up and down, because we've yet to program that. So let me go ahead and do that very quick. So I'm going to just program it for my up and down arrows as well. Pretty simple, nothing too complex. So now in this case, if my up arrow is being pressed, change Y by 10. The opposite has to happen, so we got to change Y by -10 when touching the wall, right? Let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and duplicate that and put it in if statement. But in this case, if my down arrow is being pressed, we change Y by -10. But if a wall is being touched, we're going to go ahead and do the opposite. So that means change Y by 10, right? So let's go ahead and do that. So now when I go ahead and start my program, now for the most part, my code will work. So notice one thing. Notice how my sprite went through that wall. Scratch will have the tendency of glitching out like that. The reason why it does that is because we uploaded that image from our computer. So it tried its best to copy that image from our computer to Scratch. So some of the colors might have been mixed around where not all lines are solid black lines. So it's okay if your sprite goes through certain walls. But for the most part, most walls will work. So that is awesome. Now we got that set up. Let's go ahead and set up, once I touch my finish line, my game wins. And we're going to need, if I'm touching my purple line, right? Go ahead and put that for every loop because we want to make sure that's running throughout our program. So if my sprite is touching that purple finish line, I want my sprite to say, you win, right? You win because you finished the maze, right? And I also want to give it a sound. So let's go ahead and play a sound. So in order to play a sound, you're going to go to your sound blocks and you're going to go ahead and select play sound until it's done, right? So if you want to see how many sounds you have, you can go ahead and go on sounds and you can select many different sounds that you have Scratch has given us, right? So when I finish my game, I just want a cheer sound, right? Letting us know, hey, it's awesome, we finished the game, now the crowd cheers for you, right? So let's go back to our code. So instead of playing the meow sound, we're gonna go ahead and play that cheer, right? And we're going to be ending the game, right? Once I finish my game, the game must end. So how do we set that up? So once I complete my maze, I have this cool stop all block that I will put inside after I complete my game. So once I finish my game, it will say you win, play the cheer, and then just end my game. So let's go ahead and see how that looks like. So now my maze is working. And I want to go ahead and touch that purple line. It says you win. And the crowd goes wild for finishing the maze. So that's a very simple program of our own version of the maze game. But let me show you a much more complete version of the maze game. So this is what an actual maze game project looks like. So you have your intro screen, right? You have time going on. You have obviously your maze, right? So let's go ahead and complete this. And once I touch my finish line, I go ahead and move to level 2. So in this maze game, we have multiple levels and sounds to highlight everything we've learned so far, right? And now once I hit the red line, the crowd goes wild once again for finishing my maze. That wraps up the video, and I will see y'all on the next video.